everybody. Welcome today. Glad you're with us. Bob, everybody. Welcome home. Today we have the VirtualLight Broadcast coming up. I will tell you we're creeping up on the 25th anniversary of the VirtualLight Broadcast. So we'll have a special one that is actually in December of this year. So we're kind of planning ahead a little bit, trying to get some of the people that have been with us a while to do little short segments to say hi. But in any event, welcome today. We're very honored that you're here with us. Glad you're all with us in a lot of ways. So welcome home, everyone. Anyway, we're also simulcasting on several different channels. Wherever you are, I hope you're able to see us okay today and be able to play with us today. So much is going on today. It's absolutely incredible. I will tell you, we've got a lot of free material out there that is coming at a huge amount, and I hope you enjoy it. We have the Project Park Bench, of course, that just went out about a week or so ago. We'll have another one on September 8th, which I am doing. I'm very, very honored to be doing this with Jim Self from masteringalchemy.com. I will tell you that we're doing an incredible job of taking people to a higher vibration. And it's generally about an hour long, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, somewhere in that nature, where we're able to actually take you into a different level. And from my part, it's all channeled. From Jim's part, it's all inspired. So it's pretty much the same thing, but I talk in a different voice and he doesn't. But for the most part, it's just been really wonderful for us to give this away. It's all free of charge. There are some donations that you can make to charity causes that we support. But for the most part, it's all free, and we welcome you to come watch it as many times as you like. It's going to be on YouTube. It'll be on our free channel and our YouTube as well. So it'll be in a whole bunch of different places. So come and join us and celebrate life as we step into a higher vibration with Project Park Bench. On top of that, we also have my podcast, which is gaining steam. I'm very excited about it. It's called The Backstory. And the Backstory podcast can be received almost anywhere that you get your latest podcast. It's on Spotify as a video, but it's also on YouTube as a video free of charge. We did get some complaints that people had to sign up for Spotify to see it. Well, you don't. You can actually see it all the time there at YouTube if you so desire. So anyway, welcome today. We're very glad to be with you, and we'll be moving in. Meg has an incredible piece today talking about where your North Star is and what your North Star is all about. So we'll be working with that today as well, and really looking forward to it. We do have some guests coming up as well in the very near future, so welcome home, everyone. Welcome home. Glad you're at the VirtualLight Broadcast today. We have the group will be coming in. You know, sometimes it's interesting because my team always wants to know what the VirtualLight Broadcast is going to be. So they usually ask me, they've learned to not ask me until like the day before, because most of the time I don't know. But as soon as they ask me, I go, well, I don't know. I'll let you know as soon as I know. And as soon as I send that off, the group tells me what we're going to talk about. So anyway, thanks, Carol. Carol Holiday does our social media stuff, and she's always the one asking me, what are we going to talk about, and so forth. So anyway, today we're going to start a new series, and I didn't know this until last night. But basically, the series of the VirtualLight Broadcast are all going to be about what is. What is this? What is that? And the group's going to go into kind of describing what these different things are. Today is probably one of the most important ones that we're going to start with. It is, what is love? So I myself am looking forward to hearing it. I'm not quite sure exactly where we're going with it, but I'm looking forward to it, and I know the group will take us through some really powerful information and bring a lot to this. We have several things going on besides that. I'll just touch on them briefly because I know your time is valuable, and we do want to honor that. But we are going to be gathering in Belgium, in Leuven, Belgium, coming up very soon on the 22nd of this month. I was actually flying over there to see a friend of mine. Obviously, my fiance lives over there, so I'm over there regularly. But I wasn't scheduled to go over right away. But I'm actually going over to see a friend of mine who's going to be there. He's Dave Hamilton. He's been on the podcast. He's a really wonderful guy, and I've known him since the first grade. We're very close. he has a reunion that he's doing over there with his band. They're actually traveling all over Greece. They're going to be in Germany, they're going to be in the Netherlands, and they're going to be in Belgium. And we're actually going to see them. The band is called Pavlov's Dog. He is the keyboardist at Pavlov's Dog, and he's getting ready to do that. And I'm going to be there on the 22nd, or excuse me, on the 20th, to be able to see him and say hi and greet him. Elk and I will be there. On top of that, on the 22nd, 2 days later, we're going to be doing an event in Leuven. This is the 2 days of transformation. It's kind of confusing because one day's coming up on the 22nd of September. The other one's not until the 21st of December. The 22nd of no, I'll get it straight. The 22nd, I'm not channeling right now. I can do that. The 22nd of September, of course, is the equinox, and the 21st of December is the solstice. And the group just opened up this magical space for us. We're going to be meeting in Leuven, and I'm really looking forward to meeting some new people, especially since it's a one day. If you've never been to one of our events before and you're over in that area, we actually have people coming from the United States that'll be there. So we welcome all of you. It's a simple one-day event, and we'll be doing a lot of 2-minute readings in the last half of the event. The first half of the event is just going to, I'm not quite sure what it's going to be all about, but the group will take us on a journey and be able to share a lot with us about what's going on planet Earth and what our role as light workers is all about. So we'll be doing that as well. On top of that, we're going to be doing the next in the series of the metaphysical arts. We started this originally. This is actually going to be a package of seminars that we put together later on when we move. And we're going to be including the channeling seminar that we did that was very, very popular. We're going to also include in this the last one that we did on remote viewing. And I can't remember the second half of that one, but basically remote viewing and being able to connect in that way. Then the one that we're doing coming up is psychometry and divination. Psychometry is being able to take an object and being able to read it. A lot of you do that already. So then we're going to be talking about divination, which is all the divining tools. We're not going to be covering all these things. We have just a short event together, both times, both days. Divination is where you use a pendulum, you use a crystal ball, you use something that you can read about being able to talk to yourself. They're pretty much the same thing, but slightly different uses and, of course, different words that are used in that. Now, we only have 2 days to cover all this material. The group is not going to give you all the specifics about do this, here's another way, because there's thousands of ways of doing this. What they want to cover during these 2 days is simply what's behind it. What is the magic that makes these things work? What is that? Well, we think spirit comes through us, but yes, it's much more than that. And that's what they want to cover. They want to show how to activate that magic in your life and to use it on a daily basis, whether you have a pendulum or not. And if you wish to use some of these divining tools, if you wish to use psychometry and do readings on people's crystals when they come to see you, all those things are possible. But we're going to cover the basics about the magic behind all of it coming up, and I'm really looking forward to that. So come join us for that. On top of that, Park Bench is coming up. I think we've mentioned that. Jim is doing the next, I'm kind of confused, but you can go to projectparkbench.com. I'll be doing it on September 8th. Maybe mine is the next one. I can't remember. But I only try to keep track of the things I have to actually do all the time. But you can go to projectparkbench.com and you can see the schedule. Just scroll down, see the schedule. If you're confused as to what it is, read the subjects and watch the little video that we did. On top of that, Jim and I are going to be doing another video together just to kind of show people what this is and to bring people up to date on what's taking place with it. So we're busy. Welcome home, everybody. Another lady who's very busy, who's going to talk to you right now, is Meg Adamson. She is now doing sessions. She's a clinical hypnotherapist. She's done some outstanding work. She does do private sessions. She's done them in 11 countries thus far. So here's Meg. I enjoy that. And as soon as we come back, we'll do the final channel from the group today. That's Bob, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Know that we love you. Spabo.
Hi, everybody. So nice to be here with you again this month. Let's jump right in. So I want to start this month by asking you a question. What is your North Star? Do you still have one? Do you know what that is? I know at some point in your life, at one point, you had a North Star. So this is a check-in point. So let's talk about what is a North Star. To me, a North Star it's the dream. It's that guiding light. It's different from when I'm successful, it'll look like this, somewhere I want to get to. It's that fire in your belly. No matter what your age is, no matter what your education is, no matter what your past is, it's the vision that you have in your head that drives you forward. It's why you show up every day. And what happens over time is that most people start to lose their North Star. Your North Star doesn't leave you, but you lose sight of it. We start to talk ourselves out of believing that we can ever have or accomplish our North Star. We start to rationalize about how the world is doing this or that, how my body is doing this or that, how my life ... And we start to say things like, I should have been here by now, or it should have worked out. It might have, but this happened. And I should just be grateful for where I am. You hear it? We start to stop believing in our capability, and we start to turn it all around, and we start to collapse in on ourselves. The moment we start to should on ourselves, we are now moving away from what really drives us to show up in the world, to be present, to contribute, to believe in whatever it is that's important to you. Unity, kindness, consciousness, awareness, connection, contribution, happiness, joy, health, wealth, all of it. We don't get there by losing sight of our personal North Star. And we know deep down that everything in our self-awareness, in our daily self-awareness, it's not pulling us away from that. It's not when I get there, I'll be happy, therefore I'm not even noticing what's happening around me today. No, we're not losing sight of that self-awareness. It's everything that I'm experiencing now is in service to that. Somehow this is connected to that. So if I'm not traveling the path in the way that I expected it to go, that doesn't mean I'm off course. Right? We do this. So, for example, a client comes to me with a cancer diagnosis. And the first thing that we've got to blueprint, what I do is blueprinting, is we've got to look at what big life events occurred. Where did we stop our vision of our North Star? Where did we give it up? Where did we compromise it? Where did we sacrifice it? Right? What big life events occurred in the last year, 18 months, 2 years? Some cancer scientifically started growing 10 years before. So we start to map things out. And we've got to clean up and reframe what we made those things mean about us, about life, about the world, about our dream, our North Star. We've got to clean up what we make those things mean, because they don't mean those things. Doesn't mean they didn't happen, but they don't necessarily mean what you're telling yourself they mean. Because what we do is we compound on infancy programming. Hear it, infancy. We start creating programming as infants. There's a whole body of work. Edgar Barnett was incredible And he was a medical doctor who back in 1975 gave up his medical practice to become a hypnotherapist. To me, that's jaw-dropping and extraordinary because there's not a lot of us out there that are clinically trained. And it's still sort of looked at in mainstream as a little too alternative. It's still based on the Freudian model. And this is not. The subconscious mind has its own intelligence. And so to do this in 1975, first of all, was extraordinary. But his body of work showed that when we experience our first experience of hurt, so baby cries and mom is late feeding baby, baby realizes, uh-oh, my need's not being met. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I experience hurt. And then if that happens again, now I've experienced fear. Now I'm afraid the hurt is going to come. So we have hurt, then we have fear, and then we have anger. Anger is our coping mechanism we develop in order to keep fear at bay. So programming starts in infancy. And compounded over time, we start to tell ourselves reasons why things don't work out for us, what things mean. It's, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. It just didn't work out for me this way. That relationship fell apart. It means I'm intrinsically something's wrong with me. It doesn't mean that. It means that relationship ran its course. What did you learn from it? Did you learn strength? Did you learn resiliency? Did you learn where your standards are? It doesn't mean what we make it mean, especially when it's about our worth and our value. And we bump into our self-esteem all the time because that goes all the way back to infancy programming. We don't have resources when we're that little to say, I can rationalize that this happened as a result of this circumstance. We don't have those capabilities. We're well into our teenage years before we develop that rational process. So we have to look and clean that up. And once we clean that up, then we start to blueprint that North Star again. What was it for you? What's the dream? Right? Is it seeing yourself healthy in 10 years and playing with your grandkids? Is it being at your child's graduation? Is it speaking in front of a group of people, telling them your story and how it was extraordinary that you survived circumstances? What did you learn? Who did you become? Everything that's happening on our journey is in service to that North Star. But we weren't taught that. And we don't protect that. And we lose sight of that. That this whole journey, this remarkable journey, is bringing us back home to ourselves, to who we really are, to what we come from, and the capabilities that are already innately within us, that we just have to learn how to work with. So we all came into this world with a North Star, and we discovered bits and pieces of it along the way. For example, do you remember when you were little, what games you used to play, right? Kids are going, I'm going to be a fireman, I'm going to be a policeman, I'm going to be a teacher, right? I remember being in the second, maybe third grade, and we had, in my parents' house, we had a little room that was under the stairs. That was kind of common because stairs were slanted and then you'd have the next level and there was this little space. And that was long before the Harry Potter books. And I remember my mom and I put a little desk in there and a little chair in there and hung a little blackboard in there. And I had my stuffed animals and that was my little space that I'd come home after school and I'd play in that space. And I remember I would write and then I would teach and I would write and I would pretend that I was teaching. We do these things. And isn't it kind of funny that now I write and I teach. I write about how our brain works. I teach about how our subconscious mind is the most powerful and extraordinary ally we already have built in. Well, that North Star is built in too. It's not just a dream or wishful thinking. It's part of our purpose here. And that road can become very winded. I thought when I was 18 that I was going to be a policewoman. That's what I wanted to be, but my dad made sure he blocked that at every turn. Because what I really wanted to do is I wanted to be a profiler. That's what I wanted to do. That was my plan. It didn't work out that way. And yet I'm so glad it didn't. But all the skills I learned along the way to bring me to where I am now and what I'm doing, I am profiling. But I'm profiling for the dream, right? Versus catching a criminal. We still come back to our North Star, but it might not look like what we thought it was going to look like. And we have to be open to investigating that. It's not always a straight path, and that doesn't mean something went wrong. That's what we make it mean. We are meaning-making machines. What if instead, along the twists and the turns, you allowed yourself to have a new belief that this is all in service to the North Star that I have, that I'm learning skills and attributes along the way that are really important for me. And so that this little wind in the road is necessary, and I'm being guided through that to pick up and learn this emotional maturity, emotional resiliency, strength, understanding, compassion, empathy. What if we looked at it differently and gave it a different set of meaning? Right? Then do we come back to our focus and our presence, right? We can be in gratitude. And not in that fluffy, like, yeah, I'm so grateful. But really, I'm present, I'm here. There is so much that I want to accomplish and do. And it's not out there. It's every day, one moment at a time, one choice at a time, one person I help at a time, one thing that I do, one breakthrough at a time. And it's all in service to that bigger vision of that North Star. That we continue to build, and we compound on the positive. What we've learned to do is compound on the negative. And we need to learn that we can let joy interrupt our sadness as often, if not more often, than we are really conditioned to let sadness interrupt our joy. Right? We continuously bump into old programming. Old programming that says, we're not good enough. We're not capable. We can't have what we want. We should just be grateful. Should. And to a degree, that programming may have protected you for a while. Right? I'm not doing that again. People aren't nice. And maybe for a while you were safe because you needed that space to heal. But then you needed to learn something from that. Resiliency, strength, right? Self-possession, autonomy. I'm okay. I can move through this. I survived this. And I'm getting back on track with the things that I want. But this wasn't off track. This was really valuable. And when we can see it that way, then our North Star doesn't dim. And our limiting beliefs don't stop us. Because otherwise what starts to happen is those coping mechanisms and the story we tell ourselves and the meaning we give everything starts to become sabotage in our life. That's what it looks like. And it doesn't feel good. Sabotage does not feel good. It feels like, see, that doesn't work out for me. There it is again. Why do I bother? And when we do that enough times and we compound that negative enough times, our North Star dwindles, right? It dwindles down from this beautiful guiding light to like a lightning bug that we see once in a while to, a battery-operated candle and then the battery's fading. Have you ever seen those? And then the candle flicker just gets lower and lower and we sort of give up on it. And then we tell a story about why we can't have it and we make that story true. When we do that, we are actually speeding up our aging process. It's important to know. Our thoughts influence our cellular activity, right? This is so important to realize that research today has proven that our nervous system takes cues from our thoughts, our emotions, and mental states, which in turn impacts our physiological conditions. Biologists are finding now that our thoughts, no matter if they are conscious or not, and most of them are not, it's our subconscious programming, all the way back to infancy, if we haven't cleaned it up, can impact our bodies and our DNA, and that these negative thoughts and beliefs, these stories that we tell, help the process of the destruction of the body. Because we're telling the story of, I lost my North Star. I don't really know why I'm here. What's the point? Well, your cells are listening to that. And we have got to interrupt that pattern, and we have got to stop looking at the outside world and responding to it as though that's what showed up first. It didn't. What showed up first is your belief that started at infancy and compounded over time, and you project that out into the world, and as a result, your brain will show you the evidence to make you right every time. Now, we can use that to project from a completely different set of beliefs and standards when you develop them, when we blueprint them through and you develop them. And then your brain will show you the evidence of that too. And then you can always be in service to your North Star, seeing that the winding road along the way can be pretty interesting. And in hindsight, you'd look back and say, I wouldn't trade it in for the world. It made me who I am. And there is so much more coming. And I appreciate everything that's happening right now. And I see that it's in service to the North Star. That's real gratitude. And with that, we compound, we compound, we compound. And then you start living pretty extraordinary life in extraordinary ways. And the world doesn't influence it the way it used to influence it. In fact, you become the influence. We're starting to see this. We're starting to see this change. And it is amazing. This is available to us on a daily basis. And I want you to consider what it would be like to start to change how you feel. Back to that wonder that you had when you had a really bright North Star. Can you remember what your North Star is? Can you remember what the dream is? With that, we can do this entire process in reverse. Right now, we want to prove clinically that when we focus on the value of the challenges we face, knowing that it's in service to who we're becoming and how we contribute in the world, or actualizing our North Star, right? That's what it is. This concept also works in reverse, that we affect our own healing. We create our own anti-aging, our own longevity, our own capability, our own joy, our own accomplishments, and a state of inner peace that comes along with that. Peace and happiness and contentment that comes along with that. We're still showing up every day, excited about what's coming next. But there isn't this, if once I get there, then I'm worthy. That's not it. It's I'm here, I'm now, I'm grateful, I'm present, I'm aware, I'm contributing, and there's so much more coming, and I'm paying attention to everything, even the hard stuff. That's a completely different way of living, and we were not taught to live that way. We were not taught to recognize our emotions as guiding lights along the way. How am I feeling about this? We were not taught to carve out any time to contemplate, any time to sit and process our feelings. We were not taught to investigate the stories that we tell and what we make things mean. Are they true? Or was it a circumstance that happened that you told a story about based on something that happened that was painful, that felt very personal to you because you hadn't developed the ability to not take it personally yet? That part of your brain wasn't functioning yet. This ability to rationalize. You didn't have that. So it doesn't make sense that we're still walking around with a belief that we created the moment we became verbal. Then we started to compound over time, and that's still running our life. That frozen in time, small little person within us that got hurt is still running and in charge of your life. That doesn't get us to the North Star. So I want you to think about that. Think about what your North Star is. What's the dream? And what are you telling yourself about why you can't have it? And when did that start? And what can you start to tell yourself instead? How can you start to believe that everything you've been through is not what you made it mean? And that it can mean something else extraordinary. The superpowers you've developed along the way were necessary, but you stopped looking for your North Star. But it didn't give up on you. You're still here. So it's still here. And it can be as bright as ever. But we have to clean up what you've made it mean for a really long time that feels like your identity. But it's not your identity. It's what you made it mean. And you can make it mean something else. If I can ever help you with that process, I am most happy to do so. Feel free to reach out to me on the website, megadamsonhypnotherapy.com. Have a wonderful rest of your month. And I'll see you next month in the fall. Bye for now.
Thanks, Meg. Incredible, isn't she? Thanks, everybody. Thanks, and thank you, Meg. It really kind of helps us come back into our focus and where we're going in life. Really, really special. Okay, here we go. Bring the group in. We're going to start a whole new series on the What Is series. These are aspects of the group that basically when I ask them, what is this? What is your take on this? What does this mean? What is that? And they're going to start today with love. That's all I know so far. So with that, I'm going to take you over here for just a second. We'll be back in just a moment with the group. Aspav, everybody. Greetings from home, dear ones. We join you this day with such pride, such joy, for your energy is starting to change on so many levels. You're moving into the fifth dimensional reality that we have talked about for so long. The truth is that you've been in this fifth dimensional reality for quite some time, but you've been using the old third dimensional rules, the ways that you grew up, the things you were taught. And most of them were fine. But as you evolve, you'll see even more possibilities than you ever dreamt possible. So this day, we start a new series. We start working with you on the What Is series. This was our suggestion. The main aspect of everything on life is an energy that we are going to speak about this day. It is love. Now, you're living in a land of polarity. Most of you still see things as up and down, right and wrong, good and bad. The reality is, all of that is an illusion to help you play the game of pretending to be a human. It sets into motion the possibilities of the work that you're doing so that you can see contrast. You understand that on planet Earth, if you have a whole bunch of people, if you are looking at me even right at the moment, speaking through the keeper, you only see us because our contrast is different than the background. And that is duality. So you're very accustomed to duality on so many different levels. But this day, we're going to work a bit with that. Share with you a little bit more about how you can step into the higher vibrations of the new planet Earth and work with all of it right now. So take a breath, dear ones, and let us take you up a couple of levels. Deep breath in and out. In and out. In and out. One more. In and out. Now, for a moment, stop breathing. Let your spirit move forward. Start to become aware of everything around you in this now moment. Perfect. So with that, what of love? What is it exactly? Well, we'll talk somewhat about your human aspects of it, the ways that you have applied it and used it so often, but also about what it looks like as you step into the higher vibrations of the true fifth dimensional land. The reality is you express love in so many different ways. You live in a field of duality, so you generally perceive it as loving one person. That's only a very limited aspect of what you will find. There's so much more of that. Not necessarily that you must love many people at the same time in the same way. But love does not know the boundaries that many of you place upon it. It's what you were taught. So today we're going to take you a little further into this aspect and share with you what this looks like from our perspective. Breathe deep. Anchor yourself in the physical body and let us speak to you this way. Have you ever been in love? The reality is all of you have been in love multiple times in your life. You express it in different ways. You work with it differently. Many of you have fallen in love with a single person and created a relationship that is marvelous. It allows you to walk next to someone. But the reality is, once you find love, you don't just live in love. Even relationships must be built over time with experiences constantly being built. Now, can you just coast for a while, get comfortable? Well, in the third dimension, it's quite possible to do that. In the fifth dimension, it becomes a little bit different. In the fifth dimension, when something has stopped being built, it starts to degrade. It's like a grand wave of light and love. But the truth is, you will love many in your lifetime. Whether you express it as that or not is entirely up to you and your belief systems. But if you are able to build different levels with a single person in a single relationship, it becomes very magical. It's also somewhat rare. But we tell you it's magical indeed. So what is love? Love is when you can hold someone or multiple people so close that you see yourself. That may not have been what you wanted to hear. But love is an expression of being able to see your spirit through the eyes of another. When someone looks at you and they fall deeply in love with you, you have magic. Now, it may only be for a fleeting time because you live in polarity. You have the illusion of linear time. Let me tell you, that doesn't quite exist the way you think it does. But nonetheless, it's what you live in right now. So when you look at this, know that love is not determined by the length of time you are together. Many of you have known that the keeper was married for a very long time. Not only married, but deeply in love. But in truth, even that relationship, which would be celebrating 52 years next week, had she not graduated and gone home. But the reality is, there was probably about 7 different relationships with the same person inside of that 52 years. That's magical. That keeps things alive, and it keeps things moving in different ways. So you have all these wonderful expressions. You know, the keeper did sessions. He calls them private sessions. He did them last week and last weekend, quite a few. And he had several people that said, Dave, I want a relationship, but I want someone that has as much spirituality as I do. Well, that might be actually somewhat boring. The truth is, you have to wrestle with egos on your side of the veil. That will be diminishing greatly as you step into the fifth dimension. Your ego fades. You can start to see things from the true perspective of spirit rather than your perspective of ego. That is what's surfacing right at the moment in so many different areas of human life, dealing with the egos. Now, it was a necessary evil, so to speak. It actually ensured your survival as spirits, to be able to try and see things from different perspectives and to be able to ultimately see yourself in that way. That was magical indeed, but very difficult at the same time. Now, the truth is, your world is changing. And that magic is now beginning on a massive scale. Take a breath, dear ones. So, in duality, in the lower parts of the third dimension, you understood love to be of two types, conditional and unconditional. Well, we actually tell you all love is actually unconditional. And yet many of your histories, we talked about the keeper being in a relationship, in a marriage for 50 years. The truth of the matter is, it has to be unconditional if it is to survive, if it is to move to that next level. The reality is it will be quite different in many different levels to be able to see that energy. Take a breath, dear ones. Feel the light as it moves through every part of your being. The work that you work with is much grander than you understand. But what of unconditional love? Well, first, the conditions that you have, many times we spoke about his marriage. The reality is, marriage is a statement of conditional love. It says, I will love you here. I will love you here. And many times people understand it to mean, I will love you as long as you love me back. Oh, that's great for the third dimension. But as you move into the fifth dimension, it starts taking on new aspects. It doesn't quite work the same way. In truth, if you look at your divorce rate on planet Earth, it's huge. Because it's not really working the same way as you'd work here. So how is a relationship built? Well, it's to look, to find those parts that you love, to express them. One of the easiest ways to work in a relationship and to build love is to tell your partner all your secrets. Tell them your deepest, darkest thoughts and see what happens. You'll start building this incredible trust that you could build no other way. It's magical. But there's so much more to this. Now, what of this spiritual aspect where a partner wants a spiritual person to walk alongside them? Dear ones, you have to deal with these egos. So if you get someone here, you will always be a little bit in competition. The reality is many times you can hit a harmonic where one person's here and one person's here. And as you evolve, sometimes they even trade places. That's perfect. What happens if you have a great gap? Well, then you start having a leaning relationship. One person leans upon the other. We've even heard it say that, well, we're going to work with the relationship and my partner's going to work with the spiritual aspects of it, so I don't have to. That doesn't quite work, does it? The truth of the matter is, when you have a leaning relationship like that, one person moves and the other person falls. So dare to find a harmony. Release your expectations and just allow yourself to fall in love with who they are in this now moment. Many people on planet Earth have fallen into these relationships where they wish to, oh, he has great potential or she has good potential to do this. I have hope that in a year or two we'll be walking over here and doing all of this. Of course, that never works. Now, your expectations are that you are moving into being their teacher. You can be their teacher or you can be their lover, but the truth is, generally both don't work. So fall in love. Now, what of this singularity, where you only fall in love with one person? Well, that simply doesn't happen. Now, you can make a commitment to be with this person, that's fine. But even as you start to see others or fall in love with them, express that to your partner. See what happens. Jealousy is a third-dimensional reality. It's a lower vibration. Now, I tell you, almost all humans experience that to some degree because, again, you have to deal with this ego. The ego has a lot to do with your aspects of how you express love and what that is like. Take a breath, everyone. Let the energy come in from the top. Do you think that spirit, do you think that us from the other side of the veil loves you conditionally? No, not at all. The reality is you have guides that sit on your shoulder. Many of you have even asked to hear their names so that you can call them something. It's amazing. But the reality is, these are spirits that love you enough to watch you make all the mistakes. They're telling you to turn right, and they watch you as you turn left. And they love you the same. They're still there. That is love. So when it comes to a relationship, is it possible that you love a person enough to let them go? That is one of the greatest of love. When you can actually reach that level where you can say, well, we've reached the end of our relationship. Are we going to build it further, or are we going to let it go? And what if you have fallen in love with someone else? Can I let you go in love? Be thankful for the energy that I have had with you? That is fifth dimensional love. It's where you are heading. It's the process that you're all working with right now. Yes, it's difficult, and yes, somewhat of a stretch for many humans. Even to hear these words don't always land easily. But here we are. But someone asked us, what is love? What of love of other things? What do you love to do? What brings your passions forward into your experience as a human? That's a form of love that's totally unconditional. What if you are unable to do it for a time? You don't lose the love. You still have it. And if you wish to do that aspect, do that activation, whatever it is, that activity rather, of what that is, then that's fine. That works well. And if you are not, you don't lose the love for it. What about those of you who are just in love with humanity? When you think of the Earth, do you think of the problems of planet Earth? Do you think of the difficulties that you are going through right now? The difficulties that the Earth is going through? All the humans seem to be going in a negative way. Is that heavy on your shoulder, in your heart? What if you just looked at it and fell in love with all of it? That's what your spirit does. That's exactly what it is. Your spirit is so overjoyed to be here. Yes, we know some of you get here on planet Earth, you open your eyes and you think someone pushed you into this. You think someone, I don't know how I got here. I don't know what happened. I don't remember agreeing to all of this. And yet your spirit is saying, this is so magical. I love being here. What happens when you fall in love? You radiate it all around you. You create an environment of love. It touches everything. It touches every inanimate object, as you call it. all around you. It touches every person that is within range of those vibrations, that can hear your voice or see your energy or feel your light. Fall in love. Do it often. Take the conditions off it for a time and watch what happens. It's magical. You step into the fifth dimension, you start seeing things from totally different perspective. It is time. Can you be divided the way many humans are divided on planet Earth right now? Not if you are in love. Well, you're in love with every aspect, even someone who thinks completely different than you. For you are not right or wrong. You're on a different path. That's all. Look at that and watch what takes place. Now you will find many things changing as you anchor more of the fifth dimensional reality in your daily life. It does take time. You'll start to see people. And we find it fascinating. If you look at your books and your movies and the stories that you tell each other, all of your television series, all the wonderful books that have been written, the really good ones, they always have a villain, do they not? That's an important aspect of story writing. You've got the good guy and you've got the bad guy. It equates to duality. But as you move into triality, which you are starting to do, you're starting to see some fascinating things happening with your stories. But the really good stories are the ones that build up the evil of the villain, all the nasty things that they do, the way that they think negatively, the way they harm people. And then you get to see inside the villain. And for a moment, you can see them and actually fall in love with the villain. These are happening on a regular basis, dear ones. They are planting seeds of fifth dimensional love. And that is magic. For there's no right or wrong on planet Earth. There's no right or wrong with spirit. What there are is people that sometimes can't feel other people. That is changing. Right now, you're having a big lashback. You are the pendulum that swings in both directions. We've spoken of this often. But hopefully you've reached that edge where you're going to swing back the other way into a unity consciousness. And the way that you are liable to do it, you may never have to swing back again. Not to that extreme. And that's perfect. Take a breath. Bring that beautiful, wonderful, lovely air into your being. Feel it as it moves throughout your whole blood system, carrying that life force energy out through you. And then smile really big. Feel your vagus nerve lighting up all through your body, bringing love from home, allowing you to be touched by your spirits all around you. If we could only tell you, no matter what you think of yourself, Spirit is in love with you and so incredibly proud of you. And if you start falling in love with everything that you can, anything that you can see, we've mentioned this for years and years, to find the similarities, find the ways you are alike with someone rather than the ways you are different. That dissolves the ego. That turns everything into an excitement of wonder, an experience of wonder, an excitement, a new experiment of love. Now, you do not have to change the ways that you get married. You do not have to change any of those aspects. But if you start thinking about this in a different way, you'll start experiencing so much more of fifth dimensional love. It's magical indeed. So what if you start walking next to a person that you're building a relationship with, and they're working and working and working? Would you love them enough to let them go? What about the person who is dying? What about the person who's struggling for life? and you've built a life with this person. You want to see them return so you can continue your life forward. It's going to change your life drastically if they leave. Do you love them enough to tell them it's okay to let go? It's actually an important part of life, and many of you have actually made contracts on the other side of the veil to do exactly that. Can you feel it? Feel the love that we have for you, dear ones. It's much more magical than you could ever understand. So what is love? Love is a reflection. It's a reflection of the true you. The more that you can fall in love, the more you will see possibilities all around you, in every way. You know, the Keeper has developed a habit at our suggestion. Every day when he talks to people that he loves, whether it's his son, whether it's his brother, his sisters, whether it's the love of his life at the moment, whatever it is, he ends the conversation with, "I love you." What if that was the last time that he was able to speak to them? Do it every day. And express all of it. You'll find yourself able to fall in love with the good, the bad, and the ugly. All of it is a beautiful human experience. There are no villains on planet Earth. Evil does not exist. It is only a shadow that has been created many times for control purposes. As you step into the fifth dimension, there are no shadows. It's all different shades of light. There is no black and white. It's all different shades of gray. And beautiful colors in between. Know that you are magical, each and every one of you. And we hope that you feel the love that we hold for you every moment of every day. Love yourself. Dare to look in the mirror, and instead of going right to the difficulties and, "Oh, I need to fix this," and, "Oh, here's an imperfection here," what if you just looked at yourself and just completely fell in love with that aspect of your being for just a moment as you began each day? Now you are creating an environment of energy all around you that is going to attract more of that in your field. You will live in a field of love, of true fifth dimensional love. Practice it often. Experience it where you can. Do not judge yourself if you fail. It's all part of it as well. And if you've been playing the role of a villain, dare to love yourself and watch what happens. Dear ones, you are the greatest angels that have ever lived. We love you in ways that you can only start to imagine. We watch your experiences from this side of the veil, and we are so incredibly proud of each and every one of you. That is love. And furthermore, it's a grand game of tag. You're it. We've loved you. Pass it on. Find another to love unconditionally. Tag them without needing them to love you back, and watch what happens to your field. Watch what happens to your lives as you step into the fifth dimensional reality that you have created here on Earth. Welcome home, dear ones. You are the magicians of the game board. We are the group of 9, and we love you dearly. Treat each other with respect and love. Nurture one another at every possibility and play this game together well. And dare to love the villains. You'll see all of it. Spavo, dear ones. We are complete. Okay, with that, I'm back. Wow, that was more than I expected. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Take this from here. Go out and shine your light. Know that you are loved. I love you all. Spavo. Thank you for taking your power.